Quahog's most wanted, Peter Griffin's rap sheet. Peter Griffin, lovable oaf? Sure. Devoted family man? Debatable. Criminal mastermind? Not quite. But a criminal nonetheless? Oh, absolutely. You see, Peter's antics go far beyond the usual shenanigans you'd expect from a sitcom dad. His misadventures have landed him in hot water more times than we can count. From minor infractions to major felonies, Peter's rap sheet is as long as it is ridiculous. We're not just talking about a few parking tickets or the occasional bar fight, although Peter's got plenty of those too. We're talking felonies, folks. This isn't about a few parking tickets or the occasional bar fight, although Peter's got plenty of those too. We're talking felonies, folks. The kind that get your face plastered on post office walls with the words, "Wanted reward offered for information leading to Sanity's return," printed underneath. The kind that get your face plastered on post office walls with the words, "Wanted reward offered for information leading to Sanity's return," printed underneath. Peter's escapades have ranged from the absurd to the downright dangerous. Remember the time he tried to smuggle exotic animals into Quahog? Or when he accidentally started an underground fight club in his basement? Fasten your seatbelts, because we're about to dive headfirst into the murky, hilarious, and often disturbing world of Peter Griffin's crimes. It's a roller coaster ride of epic proportions, filled with twists, turns, and plenty of laughs along the way. This isn't some slap-on-the-wrist community service kind of deal. We're talking hard time. Think Shawshank, but with more cutaway gags and less Morgan Freeman. Peter's time behind bars has been anything but ordinary. He's managed to turn the prison yard into his personal playground, much to the dismay of the guards. Think Shawshank, but with more cutaway gags and less Morgan Freeman. Peter's time behind bars has been anything but ordinary. He's managed to turn the prison yard into his personal playground, much to the dismay of the guards. And let's not forget his numerous escape attempts, each more outlandish than the last. Prepare yourself as we break down the charges, tally up the potential sentence, and explore the chaos that would engulf Quahog should Peter Griffin ever face actual justice. From courtroom dramas to townwide pandemonium, Peter's legal troubles are a spectacle in their own right. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and enjoy the show as we unravel the criminal escapades of Quahog's most infamous resident. Let's start with the obvious. Assault and battery. Peter Griffin's fists are like unguided missiles, forever seeking out new targets. His penchant for violence is legendary, and it all began with his infamous brawls with the giant chicken. These epic battles spanned continents, destroyed property, and probably violated several international peace treaties. The sheer scale of their confrontations was nothing short of apocalyptic. Remember the giant chicken? Their epic brawls spanned continents, destroyed property, and probably violated several international peace treaties. Each fight is assault, battery, and probably attempted murder considering the sheer force involved. Peter's violent tendencies didn't stop with the giant chicken. He has a long history of unprovoked attacks on various characters, each more brutal than the last. And let's not forget poor old Newman, the mailman. Newman's only crime was trying to deliver mail, but Peter's disdain for him is legendary, often resulting in brutal and entirely unprovoked attacks. Peter's vendetta against Newman is almost as famous as his battles with the giant chicken. Peter's attacks on Newman have been relentless. He's been kicked, punched, blown up, and once even sent to Abu Ghraib. Long story. Each of these incidents adds to Peter's growing list of assault charges. The court would need a whole day just to go through the testimonies, assuming any witnesses survived to tell the tale. The sheer volume of Peter's violent escapades is staggering. Each of these incidents adds to Peter's growing list of assault charges. The legal system is overwhelmed by the sheer number of cases against him. The court would need a whole day just to go through the testimonies, assuming any witnesses survived to tell the tale. Peter's reign of terror shows no signs of stopping, and the legal repercussions are mounting. Moving on to property damage, Peter Griffin is a walking disaster zone. Remember the time he turned his house into a makeshift amusement park ride, much to the chagrin and imminent danger of his neighbors? Or when he accidentally released a horde of termites into the city hall, causing a structural collapse of epic proportions? From totaling cars, his own and everyone else's, to accidentally blowing up buildings with poorly timed fireworks. Peter's capacity for destruction knows no bounds. We're talking millions, maybe billions in damages. Forget the legal ramifications for a second. Imagine the insurance premiums. No wonder everyone in Quahog is perpetually stressed. If there's one thing Peter Griffin is truly exceptional at, it's putting himself and everyone around him in mortal peril. Driving, a death-defying spectacle. Drinking, leads to public intoxication and questionable choices. Working at the brewery, let's just say OSHA would have a field day. Remember the time he accidentally launched a radioactive waste barrel into the city's water supply? Or when he stole a tank from the local army base and went on a joyride through downtown Quahog? Peter's disregard for public safety is astounding. He's a liability lawsuit waiting to happen, and the sheer number of near-death experiences he's caused would make even the most jaded insurance adjuster break down in tears. Section 5. Fraud and Deception, Peter's get-rich-quick schemes. Now, let's delve into the world of white-collar crime, where Peter's incompetence somehow reaches new heights. From forging coupons to creating elaborate pyramid schemes, Peter's attempts at easy money always backfire, usually with disastrous and hilarious consequences. Remember the time he tried to pass off a jar of his own sweat as a new energy drink? Or when he impersonated a doctor, performing surgery with household tools and a healthy dose of blind confidence? The fraud charges alone would be enough to land him in a federal penitentiary. But knowing Peter, he'd probably find a way to turn the prison system into another one of his ill-conceived money-making ventures. Section 6. Animal Cruelty. Meg's not the only one suffering. Let's not forget our furry and feathered friends. Peter's interactions with animals are often less than humane, ranging from sheer negligence to outright cruelty. Remember Brian, the talking dog? He endures Peter's antics with the patience of a saint, but even he has his limits. Then there's the time Peter adopted a dozen puppies, only to lose them in a series of increasingly improbable accidents, or the numerous occasions he's tried to ride on the back of a whale, convinced it was a giant seahorse. The ASPCA would have a field day with Peter. They'd probably build a special wing in their shelter just to house the victims of his antics. Section 7. Contempt of Court, Disrespecting the Law in Style. Now imagine Peter in court. Does anyone really believe he'd take the proceedings seriously? From inappropriate jokes to blatant disregard for the judge's authority, Peter would rack up enough contempt of court charges to keep him behind bars until the next ice age. He might even try to pull a stunt like switching places with the defendant, only to realize he has no idea what case they're even there for. It would be a circus, a legal train wreck, and must-see TV all rolled into one. The judge would need a lifetime supply of gavels just to keep the peace, or at least try to. Section 8, totaling the damages, a life sentence in jail time, so let's tally it up. Assault, battery, property damage, reckless endangerment, fraud, animal cruelty, contempt of court, the list goes on. We're talking hundreds of charges, countless victims, and a level of chaos that would make even the most hardened criminals shake their heads in disbelief. In the real world, Peter Griffin would be looking at a life sentence, no parole. His only hope would be to plead insanity. And given his history, even that's a long shot. The courts would probably build a special Peter-proof cell, complete with padded walls and a lifetime supply of crayons and coloring books, just to contain his unique brand of mayhem. Section 9, Life Without Peter, the Griffin's New Normal. Imagine Quahog without Peter Griffin. It's a scenario that seems almost impossible to fathom. Peter has been the heart and soul of the town, for better or worse, for as long as anyone can remember. His antics, his laugh, his larger-than-life personality, it's all been a staple of Quahog life. It's a strange, almost unsettling thought. The streets would be quieter, the chaos would be less frequent, and the town might even feel a bit emptier. But would that be a good thing or a bad thing? Would the town breathe a collective sigh of relief? Peter's absence might mean fewer accidents, less property damage, and a general sense of calm that Quahog hasn't experienced in years. Or would they miss his unique brand of chaos? The laughter, the unexpected adventures, the way he brought people together even if it was just to clean up his messes. Peter's chaos was a part of the town's charm. More importantly, how would the Griffin family cope? Each member of the family has their own unique relationship with Peter, and his absence would leave a different kind of void for each of them. Lois would probably enjoy the peace and quiet, at least for a while. Without Peter's constant antics, she might finally have the time to pursue her own interests, maybe even rediscover some old hobbies. Chris would miss his partner in crime, the one who always encouraged his wild ideas and joined him in his misadventures. Peter was more than just a father to Chris. He was a friend and a co-conspirator. And Meg? Well, Meg would probably just be relieved she's no longer the family's primary target for ridicule. Without Peter around, she might finally get a chance to shine, to be seen for who she really is. Stewie might try to fill the void, unleashing his own brand of mayhem upon the world. With Peter gone, Stewie would see an opportunity to step up his game, to become the new agent of chaos in the Griffin household. Brian would finally get some peace. No more being dragged into Peter's harebrained schemes, no more playing the voice of reason in a sea of madness. Maybe he'd write that novel he's always been talking about, a scathing tell-all about life with the Griffins, a scathing tell-all about life with the Griffins, filled with anecdotes and stories that only he could tell. Aptly titled, My Life in Hell, and I don't mean quahog. It would be a bestseller, no doubt, giving Brian the recognition he's always craved.